All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome to yet another unscripted Bearean Bunker broadcast, episode 78.
Wow, 78.
78.
Time flies.
So I put up a pre-message to this because something happened in our home that exposes truth. And I was gonna just keep it in my house and confess it and make amends and stuff like that all inside, but I thought if my wife would be allowing of it, it would be helpful, I think, to other guys and women and anybody who's trying to figure out how to relate to other people when you disappoint them or when you break a promise. So yesterday's thing, I did a light little comment about how my plow truck wasn't ready. And that was pardon me. Okay, so I took it lightly. My wife is not like me. She is an accounting type person where when you say something, she writes it down. And she has a note. This is where we got this thing here. She makes a list. She doesn't make and I hate lists. I struggle with lists because I feel like I'm being oppressed because I'm mental like that. And but my wife does it to make life easier. She makes it so that she makes life easier for her to know what she needs to do and for even me to kind of have an idea of priorities. And it also, when you write something down, it's kind of, it's like a little expression of your inner self. And I tend to not do that. So anyways, yesterday I was saying, oh, my plow wasn't ready, ha, ha, ha. And then I noticed when I was watching, because I watched these over and over and over again to see, did I say something that would draw somebody away from Yahweh? Your father, right? Did I say something that would draw somebody into some weird thinking? Do I need to change it? Anyway, I noticed when I said that, she looked down and went away a little bit from me. And she was like doing like this, where we were just interacting. And then praise God, my daughter had asked a question. So I was able to change the channels. And I say, oh, Anna asked a question. So then we were re-engaging, right? Well, after I shut the video down, we got into a discussion about the task list. Now, this was a covenant. This is part of a covenant that we made. Because I asked her, remember when Israel, the first church, Ecclesia, Kahal church, says, all that you say we will do. They said that in Exodus 19. They were saying that as they were saying, all that you say we will do. Just tell us what we need to do, Lord. We will follow you in faith. It was part of the faith covenant that Abraham made. You want to know what a faithful covenant is? Here you go. Is it the paper? No. It's the agreement between two parties that we are going to walk together and conquer the evil in this world. And it was a covenant, like when you covenant to marry your wife, you are covenanting to be a leader and to oppress her and take away all her dreams and independent thinking, right, Mom? Do I do that? No. But I mock. You are taking a covenant to make it. So in that covenant, there are many covenants that happen, and promises are made, promises are broken. And I'll tell you, I can look back on 23 years of marriage to this woman, and I 90% of any promise that was broken would have been me. I'm not saying I break all 90% of the promises, but I'm saying that of all the broken promises in our relationship, 90% of them were probably broken by me. Because she doesn't say, she don't agree to nothing unless she's into it. And once she agrees, it's 100%. And she'll agree with your covenant, and then you'll break your own damn covenant because she's going to be so agreeable that she's going to take it to 110%, and you're like at 60%. Or you changed your mind. You changed the covenant. And then what happens when you don't tell the person that, she's like, I don't really like that covenant. Can we sit down? It's like most of the time guys are like, I don't really want to talk about not liking the covenant because we kind of agreed to the thing and it was hard to get her into the covenant in the first place. And now I'm like, oh, this covenant sucks. You didn't see some of the details. And I bet you $1 million she saw the details. But you didn't see the details. So now you're like, and then she's like, why didn't you fix this or fix that or do this or do that? And you're like, because I had to do this and that. And then she said, but I didn't want that. We were talking about this. Yeah, but if we didn't do that, then this. And then, you know what I mean? So it's part of a communication. Anyway, this was a covenant because I wasn't getting things done around the house in the way that we thought. So I said, fine, make a list. All that you say, we will do. Make a list. Covenant. Agreement. So she makes a list and she says to me, get this. This is how I remember this. She's like, how is this? Is this something like this? Can we do it like this? And I'm like, absolutely. That's the best list ever. I said something like that. I did. Did I say something? I said,
probably.
I was very agreeable because it was a list, right? And then the list sat here. And then the list sat here. And
it got moved.
And it got moved over here. And then he got put under a placemat. And then finally she's like, hey, you gonna be home for whatever? Can we do this list? And I'm like, oh, well, we got to do this. She says, okay. And then finally, yesterday, I saw that her continence was down. And I'm like, but I was also tired, right? Because I hadn't prepared. I would have been tired anyways, but if I would have prepared my truck better, So the failing, like my wife's continence being down is not the cause or the problem. It's a symptom that you better read the road signs before you take your hot rod jalopy and crash it into the ditch of destroyed hearts and broken relationships. So I went to bed, I did the right thing and went to bed and took a nap. And I got up and there was another thing on the table, which I've crumpled and torn into 1,000 pieces and thrown in the garbage. But what it said was, I'm not going to do these things with you anymore.
I said I was going to take a break from our morning broadcast until we got our home in order.
Yeah. I'm not going to do these with you anymore until you get, So she did say it very kind. And even Yahweh was very kind when Israel broke the covenant in Exodus 32 and destroyed the covenant of Abraham. There was a new covenant made because Moses interceded. And then so she's like, I'm taking a break. And my intercessor was the Spirit of God. Okay? We have an intercessor. It is the Spirit of God if you are in a relationship with God. And so I'm like stomping around. I'm angry. I'm like, whatever. And then I'm like, these Bible times have now become the most important part of my day. The other parts of my day in my head are designed to facilitate so we can sit and have this time. Because I think it's very, very important for men and women, and even women especially, to hear a wise woman of God talk about the things of God, to put the city on the hill, put the light, take the bushel off, and show everybody whatever.
Well, and as do I. I don't want to make it sound like I don't think this is important, so I was just trying to leverage it that way. It's just there has to be a balance in a home.
You're absolutely right. And again, I took over the conversation.
There was no balance. No, that's okay.
Right.
There was just no balance.
Rachel, Sweetie Bear, takes this stuff like I said, look at her. She's like ready to go out, do anything, and we're sitting, 20 miles from town and doing this stuff as a window into other people's homes. So she's taking it to 110%. We have good questions. We have excellent conversations. Before we even do this thing, we try to get we have probably almost an hour of church.
Really, wow, yeah.
Yeah, we have like an hour at church almost, Where I am, where two are gathered, there I am. We have a there I am before this. So then she's like, So she loves this thing too, because we get to,
I do love it.
yeah. And it has sparked other conversations. You know, there are people that we have now, people that are watching this right now, that we have private conversations with about things that they're thinking about God. Do we tell them how to live their Christian life? No. We're just like here, and they know that we're trying to live a Christian life, and so it makes a bond. It makes a brother-sister bond. That's what Paul was trying to do all over the place, is make all these brother-sister bonds. He was not trying to establish a hierarchy of spiritual leadership. But anyway, I digress. So I broke the covenant, and my wife makes a list, and then she says, I'm taking a break from this, which in my heart was like, I don't love you anymore.
I think you said, I'm gonna punish you.
Yeah, she said, that's what my thing was. She was punishing me. So here's where my stupid head was. You're punishing me because I didn't do your stupid list.
Yeah.
That was my first inclination. Because I couldn't bear her broken heart. And then I started realizing it, and I'm like, then I started dropping. You know, like I just started I got like really bummed.
You did, but you're so good, and you just came and you apologized and you said, let's make a plan. And can we look at this and
can we
make
find
a new covenant?
I asked, can we please make a new covenant?
Yep. And so we did, and we came to an agreement, and you didn't just talk about it, you went and did it.
Right.
And you went out, and according to our new covenant, you did what you were to do, and here we are.
Right. So our new covenant had ramifications. Okay? It was very Levitical. Our old covenant was a covenant of faith. She wrote the stuff down. She even writes in pencil, guys. My wife is
like pencils. There's an eraser we can adjust.
She is so much into faith that she's willing to erase and move things around. Like when Abraham was following Yahweh, and how we can get back to Abraham. It's a covenant of faith. Well, guess what? I had to write this in ink. This is a Levitical covenant. This is the consequence and the new agreement of this ratified covenant, which we had meals over this. We've had, this was a thing, right? This was a faith covenant. This is a consequence covenant. Doesn't need to be ratified. This is a addendum or an amendment to this, saying, okay, if you want me to even have this fellowship with you, here's what you got to do. So I asked her, I said, honey, matriarch, sweetie bear, how about if we redo this? And I said, I'll do 4 chores on this list. Because she's like, I'm not doing these videos. I said, I'll do 4 chores on this list, and you do 1 video. So if I want her to do a video with me every day, I need to take care of this list, 4 chores. And she said, okay. And I said, okay, all right, that's right, that's what we do. And I said, can we make it so you don't add anything to this list? Can we have a new faith covenant? When I complete this, right?
Yeah, we have a new covenant page.
So now we have a new covenant page that is a faith-based covenant. I don't know if there's anything on it.
Not yet, but we do live.
Right.
We live on 40 acres with animals and stuff, so stuff has to be added. So I was like, well, I can't like not ever add anything to our list.
Absolutely, right? So I said, can we please just make a new faith covenant that I don't have to do 4 of each just to get you to think. So we want in the same way Yahweh wants to get us out of this Levitical covenant of you do this and then we will whatever. He wants you to be back into the Abrahamic covenant, which is, tell you what, let's just have a paper. I mean, we'll have some obvious basic stuff. Let's just do this, and then you follow me, and we'll work based on priorities, communication. Priorities and communication equals love.
Right.
If your husband, priorities and communication equal love.
Yeah, I'm not feeling loved when you're ignoring the list.
Right. Yeah.
That's just how I am.
That's
how I work.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, it's not a 1-to-1 ratio, guys. I'm gonna go 15 minutes. That's not a 1-to-1 ratio. If I do one thing, she like explodes. I get a million things back. I'm not even joking. It's like we have better conversations. We have walk. You know, just I can see there's more light coming from her and then, you know. So here's the deal. I broke the faith covenant. I broke my wife's heart. I fell to my knees. I don't know if I did it literally, but I fell down. And she forgave me, and now we're working through it. And so I thought it was a good icon of what Israel did, and it's a good icon of what men do all the time. We do this all the time, guys. If your marriages are failing, it's because you're not leading. I'm sure there's an exception to the rule, but if you're not like leading, like making covenants with your wife and then keeping them, and then that makes seed, that turns the soil over in their heart, and then the seeds get planted, and then they bear fruit.
Yeah, because also, like our time in the morning, it's to help us grow and become better people, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that what God wants?
Yep.
And so if we're just doing it and studying it and not applying it to our lives, then what's the purpose?
Yeah, absolutely. And I can get lost in the study. Like, it's just all about getting back
to study.
You're right. And
But then good. It's a good thing.
But then my world crumbles, and I don't look at my world. Mm-hmm. I need to right. So I'm not gonna. We could beat this horse into glue, but this is my thing. This is what happened. I broke a faith-based covenant. I broke my wife's heart, and I saw it. And you can see it if you watch yesterday's video. When I talked about my plow, my wife literally pulled against me a little bit and was like curled like this, and I felt it.
I didn't even know I did that, but I'm sure
it did. And I was like, and then it got worse and worse and worse after the video.
So because of time, maybe today you can just do the review, because otherwise we would spend probably another half an hour and you have to go to work.
I would rather, I agree with you. I think Bible in a Year is going to pick up again tomorrow, because I don't want to take away from this video about the importance of a husband dying each day for his wife. And if you die for your wife, she will resuscitate you. I'm not kidding. It's not that whole thing about the book about how to understand a woman, and it's a bunch of giant book, blank page. That is bullshit. That is not real. That's wrong. They are extremely easy to understand. The problem is guys don't want to understand it because it'll make more work for them, because they took and plucked a woman out of her family and home, whatever, and then said, I want to have a certain privileges as a man. And then they ignore the whole other half of the woman. And then they're like, what? I got your house. I got your car. Got your lights on.
You got water, don't you?
You got running water.
I actually heard that before. You said.
I have said that.
Isn't it amazing we have running water? And I'm like, okay. That's where this is going. Okay. I get it. I have a nice home.
Right. So if your house is cold, it's because you're probably not stoking the furnace of love, communication, and covenant ratification. It's our job to ratify these covenants that we make with our wife, and keep them going. Yeah. That shows the love. Yeah. Keeping your word. And then they show the love. So I want you guys to have a blessed day. I want you guys to have a powerful day. And men, I'm gonna put out a shotgun burn the village prayer for all you married guys, that you would learn that ratifying a covenant equals loving your wife as Yeshua HaMashiach loved the church. He ratified the covenant to get us back to Abraham when he died and bled. When he bled, blood ratification, died, resurrected. The Father said, this will do it. And now we're back in Abraham's seed, Galatians 3:26. So thank you very much for joining us and listening to my confession. Have I appealed to the matriarch?
You have.
All right. So here we go on this blessed day. Ciao.
Bye.